Right, welcome back, everybody. It's 20 minutes before 7. We want you to get involved in this conversation we're about to have right now. We're talking Nigeria, and that hashtag, if you'd like to get involved on Twitter, is there on the screen, Nigeria Massacre. Obviously, one word, Nigeria Massacre at Morning Live SABC. That's where you can tweet us. Now, after a week of bloodshed unleashed by militant group Boko Haram, who claimed to be doing this in the name of Islam, hundreds of civilians were left dead across northeastern Nigeria. The bombing by two suspected child suicide bombers in a crowded market on Sunday capped a week of horror and marked an ominous escalation in violence. This with elections in Africa's most populous nation expected to be held in less than 5 weeks' time. Well, to help us understand the source of this terror in Nigeria and the possible reasons behind it, we are joined in studio by Solomon Izani Ashoms, who is a magazine editor and a freelance journalist living here in South Africa. Solomon also happens to be born and raised in one of the small towns in northern Nigeria named Jos, which has been terrorized by Boko Haram insurgents. It's so good to have you in studio. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much.
All right, so you were born in the north of Nigeria,
yes.
In Jos, as we said. Was Boko Haram existing at the time that you were there? You know, what was known of this Islamist group when you were staying there?
Boko Haram was not really in existence growing up in Jos, and Jos is right in the middle of Nigeria, if you know the geography of Nigeria very well. So it's close to the northern part. It's part of the northern part. They call it North Central. But Boko Haram was not really in existence. The northern part of Nigeria is 90%, 95% Muslim.
Yeah.
So I grew up basically with a lot of Muslim friends and knowing the Islamic culture and everything. I could say the prayer, though I'm Christian. But Boko Haram was not really a part of the system. But then in the 70s, there was a group called Metasine. They are very radical in thinking, just like Boko Haram. They used to be based in a place called Kano. And later on, there was a group also called Izala, which was also in the 80s. And General Muhammadu Buhari, he was the head of state then. He actually had to send the army to really contain them. Those are some of the radical Islamic groups that were part of the system of Nigeria. So for me, somehow I think Boko Haram is kind of like just a continuation of that. Okay. Though you have a different name, but you have to look at the history and to look at people like Usman Dan Fodio. He was the main head of, the creator of the seed of the Islam in Nigeria, in Sokoto State. And there was also a guy called Sheikh Mohammed Gumi. He was the one who brought in a different kind of thinking, radical Islamic thinking. And so they trained other younger people through Islamic schools and with that radical view. And gradually today we have what we call Boko Haram.
What fuels Boko Haram? What's behind all of this?
It's a bit difficult to really understand Boko Haram, actually. A lot of people thought maybe it's just it's a group that wants to really promote religion, which is Islam, obviously. But if you look at it, it's much more than that. They have a political angle to it. They have an economic angle to it. So Boko Haram in itself, though the name in Hausa, which means Boko is knowledge, Haram is something that's forbidden. So it's like a forbidden system that is trying to make sure you forbid Western education. But Boko Haram in itself is a group that really wants to try to Islamize Nigeria. You have to understand also the constitution of Nigeria is the Constitution of Nigeria is not secular. We don't have a secular constitution. We have an Islamic constitution. So in the Constitution of Nigeria, officially Nigeria is an Islamic state.
Yeah.
It's not a secular state. But a lot of people don't understand that. That was done by General Muhammadu Buhari. He was a military head of state in the 80s. He signed Nigeria to be a member of the IOC, Islamic Organization of Countries. And he did that. So Boko Haram and other Islamic radicals are thinking, look, this is a nation that is supposed to be Islamic. And this is a nation that's supposed to go this way. So Boko Haram starting in Maiduguri and the government not able to contend them and also fighting a lot and civilians and casualties from there. They've been able to really do quite a lot. I think there's really a war going on in Nigeria. For the first time, we had so many people being killed since the 60s. Between 1967 and 1970, we had a Nigerian civil war between Nigeria and Biafra. And Boko Haram has been able to really, control so many states in the northern part of Nigeria.
Your family must be petrified. Have you spoken to them? How is the situation like in the north?
It's very dicey. I come from Jos, and Jos is this mix of Christians and Muslims, and that has been a bit of a challenge. I call them quite often. I know quite a lot of families that have been displaced. I know quite a lot of people that have been affected. The geography of Jos in itself as a town has really changed. You know, the Christians and the Muslims used to live together, but now the Christians are on one side and the Muslims are on one side, and it's something that every day you just think about it, because in the market, you know, a bomb might just go off, and a family member may just be there. So the sense of security is not really there. So it's something that I think the federal government of Nigeria really need to really think and look at Boko Haram and look at these states. The election is coming up on the 14th of February, and instead of really concentrating on Boko Haram, you know, and really get manifestos that would bring ideas to tackle this, and none of them is really coming out with really concrete proposals to say this is how we're going to tackle Boko Haram and all the killings of civilians.
Let's focus on the president now, on Goodluck Jonathan, because it's been quiet. He hasn't said anything, and the reality is that just after what happened in Paris and the attacks in France, he was very quick to condemn the incident and put out a statement. However, within his own country and his own borders, after all this has happened, not a single word has been heard from President Goodluck Jonathan. What does this mean to the people? I mean, how is the reaction towards this?
I think the reaction for people right now, especially with Paris is kind of like a case study for Nigeria now. A lot of people are beginning to be vocal. You know, see how much Paris got a lot of support, but Nigeria, the leaders are not really saying anything. The spokesperson for the president, Dr. Donyi Okupe, made a statement on social media.
I believe, you know, so. Just questioning the figures. The figures,
you know, it's been said that's over 2,000 people, but the government is saying no, it's about 157 people. So there's that dilly-dally, and there's an election coming up also. And for me as a leader, Goodluck Jonathan, he's a good person. But I think as a leader, he has failed so much as a leader. He's been there for 6 years already. But the same problem has been going on over and over again. And I think for people, for a Nigerian citizen, they would just look at the government and look at Goodluck Jonathan and see how much incompetent he is, his government not being able to handle that, how much corruption we have, not just within the Nigerian political system, but also within the Nigerian army. The corruption is so high and so high up there that before Boko Haram is aware of the next move by the Nigerian army. The Nigerian army, the soldiers are afraid to go out and fight right now. So definitely for me, I think Goodluck Jonathan has lost a lot of credibility. The election is not going to be easy for him, and it's really going to be very close between him and his opponent, General Muhammadu Buhari.
All right, let's leave it there for a second. We're going to take an ad break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation, but also talk about bring back the girls. We'll talk about what's happening in Nigeria, these suicide bombings from 10-year-old children and other issues that are happening in that country. So stay tuned. If you'd like to join in, please do. At Morning Live SABC, that's where we're looking for your tweets, and use that hashtag Nigeria Massacre. Stay tuned.